you need is an idea and a little motivation to build something from it. So without further ado, Chris, take it away.
Hey, everyone. You got anything? There we go. Hey, just remind you, if you don't mind, come on up here. I don't care if you leave a little bit later, but since it's a little workshop-y, I'd love you to kind of fill in here. This little block right here. Not too much to ask. Thank you. I promise it'll be worth it. And if you get up to leave, no shame. I get bored. Why shouldn't you? Hello, Kevin. Good group. Thank you. All right, here we go. And AV crew, where's the slide advancer? Thank you, sir. All right, you guys ready? Yeah. That's the answer I wanted to hear. Yeah. By the way, the first three words are fly, Eagles, fly. Bird game. Dallas this week at the link. All right. Do you guys mind if I come down here? This feels a little awkward, right? This is workshop-y, yep? Yeah, let's do it. All right. Hi. All right, so let's not electrocute my butt here. Hey, how are you? So my name is Chris Heivly, and I was lucky enough to be one of the founders of MapQuest back in the day. Now, raise your hand if you've never heard of that. I'm looking at young people. Look around, right? Come on, there's one of you. Yeah, but a couple of you don't, right? Are you being honest? Have you heard of it? All right, good. All that means is I got really lucky, but I had an experience. And what I'm going to share with you is all the experience I've had in the last 30, 40 years about how to build startups. So what I'm going to tell you is that I've seen probably hundreds and hundreds of startup ideas. I've sat down with, no matter what you're working on, what idea you have, I've heard some version of it or something like it. And so I've met like 5,000 of you guys. That's how we say that in Philly, yous guys. Just making sure he's awake over there. And there's probably not a challenge that you have that I haven't seen. So what I'm going to take is all of those experiences and all those observations and put it in this little kind of hour-ish workshop for you. And we're actually going to do a little bit of a we'll break. I'll do a little bit of lecture and then have you guys do some stuff. And let's have fun with it. So the task for today is to think about these three things, okay? So raise your hand if you're working on an idea right now or thinking of an idea right now, okay? Super. So the idea here is so you got a concept in your head, right? The problem is that what I find, and the whole idea of this concept of building a fort, by the way, how many people built forts as a kid or even now, right? Like look around, like we all raise our hands, right? Think about, what's your name? Case. Okay, so you and I grow up, where do we grow up? Columbia, South Carolina, not Columbia, the country or? Okay, so like we live in the same neighborhood and it's a summer day and, you know, we wake up and you live across the street and I go, hey Case, do you want to build a fort? And you say? Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, and it took you about a nanosecond to decide that? Yeah. But let's think about the adult version of that. Remind me? Sai. So Sai, you want to build a fort? Or you ask me, you want to build a fort? I don't know if we know anything about fort building, where we're going to get the wood. I don't even know how to design a fort, right? That's the adult version, right? So every time you look at me today, I want you to think about this as like, how do we kind of simplify this process? That's what I want to do for you today. That's the way I want to look. Channel that 10-year-old, right? Stop overcomplicating things. The second thing is we get preoccupied with like what I call the evolved dream, right? This is what the business looks like 5 years from now when the UPS truck shows up every day with the boxes of money from your successful product or service. That's okay to have that dream, but the question is, the dream doesn't tell you what to do tomorrow, right? So you can have the dream, maybe the dream wakes you up and gets you excited, but then we got to kind of focus and put, you know, the actions together that are going to make sense for us. And the third observation is we spend too much time alone in our own head. How many of you are in your extra bedroom or on your kitchen table or down in the basement? No bueno, okay? What did I do with Case and Cy, right? How do we build forts? We built forts with our friends, right? We all kind of found the task to do. And I'm not saying you all have to have like 14 co-founders, but every minute you spend, here's my favorite cliche. Every time when you're the only one in the room, every decision is perfect. Who is there to question, right? So I really believe in the community or the team aspect of fort building, aka starting something. So what I want you to think about is these three things. Now, by the way, at the end of this, I'm going to have my email at the end. I'm happy to talk to any of you about your ideas. Many of you I've already talked to at different kind of office hours I have. Take advantage of them, and I'm happy to share these slides as well. So today, just kind of absorb it, and if something's cool, just all you have to do is send me an email, and I'll send you the slides with my notes in them as well. All right. So what we're going to talk about is the Lean Canvas. Who's heard of the Lean Canvas? Business Model Canvas, Lean Canvas, right? It's a tool. I happen to like it. I've used it for about 9 years in all of my work. And all it is a means by which we can kind of articulate the thoughts of all the different aspects of our business in one of these 9 cells. This is free on the worldwide interweb. You can go to search for Lean. I happen to like the Lean Canvas, a little simpler than the Business Model Canvas. If you search for it, you can print it out. You can find lots of PDFs on it, lots of books on it. Again, all you have to do is ask. I'll tell you all about it. So we're going to go through that today. All right, first lesson. Looking you all in the eye. First lesson is I want to create a mindset for you that right now with your idea, you're in a process of discovery. You're not building a business yet. You're not building a business yet. You don't even know if you have a business yet. What you need to do is you're in this process of discovery. You're trying to figure out if this idea has merit, right? You want to validate some of these assumptions. That's what we're going to use the Lean Canvas. So in terms of a word to walk away with, I'm giving you permission to not have all the answers yet, and to go and to find those answers, even to find the questions to the answers. You're in this process, you're in discovery. How do I uncover and reveal the things that are important for me to understand and validate that I have a business that's worth? All right, so let's get started. All right, so the first thing we have to ask, so here's going to be a series of questions. First thing is, you see something, that's our starting point. I'm cool with all that. You see something, you feel something in your work, something in your life, something that's broken, something that's an opportunity, fantastic. You see something, but is it worth solving? You were a data set of 1, you would probably need a few more people to make a business, right? So first question, is this problem worth solving? I want to ask, so here's a series of questions. How many others have this problem? Now, how can we figure out maybe the answer to this? Cy, how would you answer this? How many people have the same problem that I see? Talk? Yeah, internet. What's your name back here? Javon. How would you go about answering that question?
Maybe put out like a survey or a question.
Yeah, survey, a poll, right? Not a bad thing. Cy said the internet. That's a big word. Now be nice. Facebook, LinkedIn, landing page. Anybody ever heard of a landing page? The one-page website where you ask a question, see how many people come to it. Lots of different ways to answer this question. I like the idea of just going out and talking to as many people as possible. How many of you consider yourselves an introvert? How many of you say the thought of going to talk to 10 people makes you, cry in the corner weeping? Okay. Well, I'm going to say the last session we're going to talk about how to do that more effectively, but you got to do it to be a good entrepreneur and to get your idea off the ground, right? You have to do it. So talking to people. One of the questions I always want to ask those people, whether it's in a landing page or a poll or a survey or a one-on-one is, do they see the same problem I see, right? And by the way, one of the best questions you can ask them is, how are you solving this problem today? If anybody thinks that the thing they're working on has no competitors, I'm going to call bullshit on you. Because a competitor isn't someone that's doing it the way you do. A competitor is, I am solving this problem, maybe not in a good way. Almost every B2B software program over the last 20 years, its competitor was email and a spreadsheet. So problems are being solved, maybe not efficiently or effectively, right? So here's some questions that you want to be asking yourself. And then ultimately, how big is this thing? How many think that at one point they may want to raise some money to help get their thing going faster? Well, raise your hand proud, because you're not going to do it by limping in. Well, I'm going to say, if you don't know the answer to this or have an idea of this, there's not an investor other than your mom or dad or your grandma that's going to invest. These are the questions they're going to ask. All right. So in terms of the lean canvas, and obviously this slide didn't work. See how that half thing went over there? That's the conversion from Google Slides to PowerPoint, by the way. We'll find a few of these along the way. So in terms of the lean canvas, what you do is start to talk about and articulate maybe what the top 3 problems are. The way that I like to use this canvas, by the way, I get it printed out at the local print shop. Maybe cost me $10, 3 feet by 4 feet. I put it in wherever I work, and I start putting sticky notes in these things. And every day I take a picture of it, because as we start to uncover things, we figure out, well, this doesn't really work. I thought it did, but when I talked to 30 people, they validated that they don't care about this thing. So let's take that away. So I view this as a living document. All right? So I said this is going to be hands-on. So what we're going to do for the next 10 minutes, I want you to answer these 3 things. What are the top 1 or 2 problems or opportunities you're seeking to address? Write them on your phone. Write them in a notebook, right? Scribble it, prick your finger and write it blood on the chair. Use your computer. But it's workshoppy, so if you don't mind, write it down. This is for you, not for me. And then I want you to tell me how many people you've shared the idea with so far. And then why don't you work on that for about 5 to 6 minutes. I'll set a timer, and then I'm going to call on a couple of you to share your answers, because this is a workshop and this is interactive. Cool? Ready? 1, 2, 3, break. Break. All righty. What's your name? Richard. Why don't you stand up for a second, Richard? Here we go. Game on.
We're not asking for volunteers.
That's right. So Richard, tell me, give me a 15 seconds about your idea and what the biggest problem is you're trying, or opportunity you're trying to address.
We're working on a software called Homeworks. It's home management software. So you take your home, all the properties in your home, you can have them at the palm of your hand. Basically, paint color, light bulbs, anything from your house.
Exactly.
In your app.
I've wanted this for years and years. I'm all serious. So, do you see this as fixing a problem, or is this an opportunity for you to do, or a little bit of both?
I think it's
for the customer.
Right. I think it's a little bit of both, because when you go to the store, you don't always have the information with you in hand. So if you have it on your phone, you'll be able to access it rapidly.
Excellent. So everyone follow this so far? So, you're at home, you got filters and light bulbs and fittings and all this stuff, and every time I get to Home Depot, I'm like, was that 20 by 21 or 20 by 15? I can't remember that filter. Sometimes it's in my notes, sometimes I have a picture of it. I can't find it. All right. So the problem, the reason that we really want to work on this is we want to be able to quickly articulate what that problem is. So, what was your? Richard, sorry, and your Sai and your Case and your Javon. I'm getting there. So the idea, Richard, is that one of the artifacts of going through this and getting precise in kind of identifying 1 or 2 problems is that you want people, customers, employees, future employees, investors, to immediately get what you're after. So one of the reasons in the canvas, I love the canvas, is at the end, in the middle, is what we call our value proposition. Can be turned into an elevator pitch, could be turned into a bigger pitch. It's the accumulation of all the things that we come up with, right? So good start. We're going to work on that. All right. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Max. I'm trying to develop some sort of app or content generator for small businesses that are finding themselves falling behind franchises and corporations in bringing that content and keeping up in keeping their audience engaged. So it'll be something where people can put all of their business information into it, and monthly it will generate their content ideas for the month, give them a full script to be able to film it quickly. It reduces the time they need to figure out how to be creative and eliminates the conundrum of how do I reach people.
Excellent. Well articulated, right? You're starting to understand immediately. So there's always room to go here. Fantastic. What was your name again? Max. Thanks, Max. So the idea is small businesses know they should market more, knows they should use social media. How do you be creative when you're running your business, your restaurant, your franchise? How do you compete with others that have big budgets? And here's maybe a tool. So you guys are starting to get the idea of the things that people are thinking about. You know, when you're building the business, a Steve Jobs quote is that I love, is that businesses don't suffer from when you don't have enough food. Starvation. We don't suffer from starvation. We have too many opportunities. We have too much food. We have too many things to work on. So the whole idea of this discovery and breaking these down into small pieces and not listing 14 problems, but listing the top one or two, is we can start to kind of narrow down our focus and make sure we can get some things done, okay? So we start with the problem, all right? Now, my most favorite and the longest section of this, and we're going to spend a little bit more time on this, is on the right side of the canvas is the customer or customer segmentation process. So Max, well, hold on, I'll save you last. So the questions we want to ask: who are our target audience, customers, or users? What do they look like? Now, the joke was back 20 years ago with the advent of the internet was like, who are my target customers? Everyone on the internet. That's not really a target, is it? No. Right? And I say that, and I know it's silly, but I'm using that as a proxy for saying it's really important to really know a little bit more. More importantly, I'd like to know the characteristics of that target. And those characteristics can kind of make them all part of, I love the word tribe, because startups fail because of one of two reasons, or a combination. They run out of time or they run out of money, okay? What I'm trying to do in this process of discovery is to eliminate the crap you don't need to worry about and to get to the heart of this idea and to test it as quickly as possible. One of the things is finding customers. Now, the evolved dream says, I can't wait till I have 1,000 customers. But my question, my task for you is, how about we find the first 10? We can't get to 1,000 unless we get through 10. Let's find the right 10. Let's find out what made them interested in our product or service. And then let's find out the characteristics so we can find more people like them, build some momentum, and eventually crawl, walk, run to 1,000. If you focus on 1,000 out of the gates, or 10,000, or 1,000,000 customers, depending on whether you're a consumer product or a business product, I'm going to tell you, you will get stuck and lost. Trying to market to everyone and a spray and pray in hopes that 10 will join you is not the way of building methodical. So we have to do this customer segmentation. And ultimately, once we find the characteristics, we want to know where they hang out. I mean, virtually, physically, whatever. Because if it takes us a lot of effort to find them and convince them to buy our product, we're putting in jeopardy time. Make sense? Okay? So this is a crawl, walk, run kind of scenario. Wow, they just did not convert very well, did they? So what we're doing is the right side of the canvas and customer segments, and we're going to target these things. So let me go on a little bit. This is the longest lecture, so stay with me, but it's the best shit going. This is good stuff right here. This is the whole deal. I think every business starts with understanding these. Anybody see this bell curve? Who's heard of the phrase early adopters? Okay? And we kind of like, cool, we're looking for early adopters. But most of you don't really know, I love you all, but you don't really know what that means. Well, in context, okay, here's the typical customer life cycle of your product. Here's time, and here's like the number of customers, the amount of revenue or users, whatever. And it kind of builds in this bell curve. And we can break our customers, if we're successful, over time into these 5. So laggards are people who are still using their Motorola flip phone or their BlackBerry, right? So no use selling them a really cool Apple app, right? You get the idea. Late majority, early majority. But on the left-hand side, not just early adopters, but innovators. Now these are people, innovators, who buy product without having a lot of information. They love to be on the leading edge. These are the people that you need to find, right? The people who are willing to live with crappy products or bad marketing or slides that don't make sense, right? Or, you're willing to live with that because it's really not important, because you value the things of being on the leading or bleeding edge of whatever. They want to take chances. They're willing to do that. Those are the people that are the best people to find because they help get your business. They don't need everything buttoned up and perfect. If you wait and think you have to build a product that is all buttoned up and perfect to make this work for this whole group, you will run out of time. You will not build any momentum. The early majority and late majority, their buying mentality is different than innovators and early adopters. They want to see other people do it before they do it. So you can't go after this group all at the same time. If you do, and you're trying to pitch an app to someone who has a BlackBerry, that will be a waste of your time. And you'll run out of time, and you won't build any momentum. Make sense so far, right? So your task, in terms of using the canvas, your task when you're getting an idea off the ground is to try to identify 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 very narrowly defined segments that look like innovators, and then go out, and those are the people I want you to talk to. Okay? And here's what we're going to say. Okay? So you haven't earned the right to talk to the late majority and go after the big money now. Okay? This is what I said earlier. If you think that your product solution is amazing because it can address a wide range of people, this is for musicians and real estate, operators and mortgage bank. Like, that's no good. Because, do you think a musician cares that you sold a product to a bunch of real estate people? There's no affinity there, right? There's no, I got confidence out of that. Okay. So here's what I mean by customer segmentation. Distinct groups with distinct needs, hyperly narrow, and specific characteristics or behavior that are common among these group of people, okay? And so here's a couple examples. Apologize for the shitty slides. I've only done this 100 times, but the convert didn't happen. All different ways that you could kind of define certain characteristics. Some easy ones, like you start usually local, start in Columbia or the region, right? Because then you can get in front of your potential customers and use part of you. Age, gender, what kind of interest they have. I have a program for, Max is not going to go talk to people in billion-dollar corporations, right? No reason to spend a minute with those kinds of people, right? Lots of different ways to define characteristics, okay? All right, take a breath. That's for me. Here's the biggest tool that I can share with you. I think customer segmentation and how you approach it is the key to driving momentum and success in the early, is to focus your attention. And the best ways you do that, I told you earlier, is go out and talk to people. I'm trying to figure out which people you go talk to. And doing that, now I'm going to talk to them. What do I need to talk to them about? Okay? We call this the problem interview. Again, if you ask for my slides, you'll see I reference a book by Ash Mora called Running Lean. This is chapter 6. He breaks down how to do this customer interview or problem interview. The reason we don't call it a customer interview is because we don't know their customer yet. What we're trying to validate is they see the same thing I see. What I want to do, in as unbiased a way possible, is to have them say to me what I'm hoping to hear, which is, yeah, in my job or in my life, I'm a homeowner, and gosh darn it, I am wasting time and running back and forth to Home Depot. I would love to have. You want to get to that without actually steering them to that point. Okay, so this is the problem interview, and a couple key things is you're not trying to sell them a solution. If you're starting with a solution, it's no good. You're already biasing the question. What you want to do is a set of generic questions, and again, walk you through how to do this, to have them talk about the problem they see. One of my favorite questions are, what keeps you up at night with regards to your home, right? Or if you're in a business piece of software, how do you feel about marketing your small business, right? Something open-ended and generic. If you do that across 10, 20, 30 people, you'll start to see some commonalities, right? So this is a learning and discovery process, not a pitching, right? So Ash does a really great job of breaking down kind of the 30 minutes. In my last company, I don't just preach this shit. I actually did it myself. I wrote my own customer interview, problem interview. I'm happy to share it with you if you ask. And I did this 75 times before we went out and tried to sell anything. Again, you don't need to read this or take pictures if you want, but happy to send you this, all right? So we're going to break for a second. We're going to spend about 15 minutes. I'm going to have you work for about 5 to 8 minutes. I want you to write down 3, let's say a minimum of 2 potential customer segments, right? So Devon, right? So it's not just homeowners, it's new homeowners, or maybe it's old like me who can't remember shit anymore, right? It's people that are internet savvy. Maybe if I'm internet savvy, maybe I'm college educated. Maybe I live in suburbia. Maybe I live downtown, right? All different ways that you might segment. I want you to identify 2 segments and write down as many characteristics about these segments as you can that seem to kind of form a person. In marketing sense, we call that a persona. You can even name it. Let me talk about my target is Sarah. Sarah's a single mom with 2 kids and is a soccer mom, and she's college educated and drives a minivan, and she lives in suburbia, and she needs her kids to do whatever your thing is you're solving. You get the idea here? So I want you to come up with 2 personas, and don't be too broad, be more narrow. I'd rather see overly narrow than overly broad. We good? I'll put the characteristic slide back up, and we're going to do 1, 2, 3, break. You guys haven't figured it out yet. Nate, you know this. I expect you to be there. Ready? You say it? Did you whisper it? Okay. 1, 2, 3, break.